guys probably don't think this is as funny as we do, but this is the third time we're recording Football Insiders this week, and the first time you get to watch us. Two recording problems, separate recording problems. We've got ghosts. I don't know what's going on here, Mike.
Yeah, I halfway through the show that we just recorded like 20 minutes ago, I noticed in the top left corner that there was no recording icon, and I was like, ah, man, Jason's just saying such smart things right now. I can't cut him off now. Like, I mean, he's making such great points about high school football. It's hard, when we're in the zone, we don't care what's recording.
Well, let's get to it again for the third time. We are going to recap Thursday night's action of the last regular season week of 11 AAA, 11 AA, and 11A, and the first round of the playoffs for 11B and all the 9-man classes. And then we'll get to a more full preview next Wednesday on Football Insider. So just FYI. But let's start off with takeaways from 11 AAA. O'Gorman took on Harrisburg. The winner got the number 2 seed. This has been a fun rivalry over the last couple of years that they've been in 11 AAA together. But O'Gorman kind of gets one put in their lap, Mike.
Yeah, I mean the turnovers at the end that O'Gorman forced. I mean the defense just came through at the end. Obviously, I mean the offense made some plays with Rylan Satter. Had an 86-yard touchdown and was able to get things going for them. But when it came down to it, obviously O'Gorman got the 5 takeaways in the game, 4 interceptions, and a fumble recovery for a touchdown to win the game by Nate Ratzlaff. That was unbelievable performance by their defense and huge win going into the playoffs for them.
For them to get a win with as many injuries as they had, Maverick Jones exited the game after the first play of the game, got hurt. Their bell cow running back, who's been one of the best in the class, and then several offensive linemen weren't able to play, and for them to still win, huge win for O'Gorman. Harrisburg, on the other hand, a very forgettable way to lose with so many turnovers. One, I guess, silver lining is they got Gavin Ross back, and he carried the ball 34 times for 138 yards and a touchdown. So moving forward, that at least gives them some hope that they'll be able to really run the ball to go along with Dylan Elrod's passing attack that they've had all season long.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we talked about them a couple minutes ago, and how I mean, they played really, really well when Gavin wasn't on the field, and now he comes back, and they're just going to play even better. So even though that wasn't the way that you want to lose yesterday, I mean, they got to be feeling good about that at going into the playoffs as the number 3 seed.
A big one for seeding was Washington taking on Brandon last night, the first game at Howard Wood Field, and Brandon Valley found a way to win 35-33 in the closing seconds of the game. Washington had an opportunity for a short field goal to take the lead and get the win. It was blocked by Isaac Johnson, and Brandon finds a way to win, which gives them that number 5 seed and a rematch with Lincoln. But going into the playoffs, they are injury stricken, including their quarterback, Lucas Slack, who did not play in last night's game. But Jack Thuey did a nice job, 18-26, 221 yards, 2 touchdowns. They're really hoping they can find that extra gear to get back to the Dome where they've been so familiar the last couple seasons.
Yeah, and those two were in a quarterback battle at the start of the season too. So they're definitely really confident in their quarterback depth. So I'm thinking that they don't see this necessarily as a setback. Obviously, they want to have their starter in the field, but they're going to go about the game plan and try to win with defense. And that's just how Brandon does. And that's they've got into the Dome several years doing that, and this might not be the best team that they've had, but you never count out Brandon at this time of year.
Yeah, defensively came up huge with the pick 6, and Delvon Spears-Whitty with a couple rushing touchdowns too. So a nice balanced effort from Brandon Valley to survive. But Washington looked really good offensively, but they'll have to step it up in another notch because they've got Jefferson coming up next week. Lincoln, they've been playing their best ball at the end of the year, Michael. Maybe the team that we talked about at the beginning of the year that we thought was championship caliber maybe coming to fruition.
Yeah, I mean, offensively, defensively, obviously they're young on both sides of the ball, but they got some really, really good experienced guys. And, I think to beat Aberdeen Central team that has been coming to the end of the season really, really strong, that's, that's 11 AA is, sort of proved themselves this year where they could, play with some of those AAA teams and, to consider 11, Aberdeen Central one of the better teams in 11 AA. I mean, you can't discount this win. That's a big momentum setter for that for Lincoln headed into the playoffs. And, they were already playing pretty well, around this time. So, it's nice for them to get a big win, show them what they could do headed into a, big playoff matchup.
Yeah, Tate Schaefer came up with 5 touchdown passes in the game. Huge day for the junior quarterback, and he found Isaac Jarofsky for a big couple of touchdowns in that one as Jack Smith was draped all night long. But Smith had a touchdown as well. But a good night overall for Lincoln. 11 AA, not much going on as far as last night's regular season. Spearfish Sturgis played. Mitchell lost, so they're not in the playoffs. And Spearfish Sturgis did go overtime. Spearfish getting the win, so they'll have a little higher seed coming in, which helps them out. But let's move to 11A, where I was impressed with Dakota Valley, the way they played with Del Rapids, and not even just Del Rapids, but last week played with Sioux Falls Christian. Dakota Valley, even though they've lost a couple games coming into the playoffs here, I feel confident about how they're able to move the ball.
Yeah, for sure. Like, we were talking a couple weeks ago about Beersford and how we had Beersford ahead in the rankings, even though Dakota Valley had the better record. And, you know, Dakota Valley, even though this is probably the roughest stretch of their season, really has, come alive a little bit in terms of, they're really showing that they could do exactly what they've been doing earlier in the year against tougher opponents. And this is a really, really close class. And, I'd expect it to be that way all the way through the playoffs. And Dakota Valley is a big component of that.
Yeah, for sure. And as far as 11A goes, seeding wise, the only other thing we were watching last night is if, Lennox, they lost and Vermilion won. We thought maybe they would trade spots and Vermilion would get in the playoffs. Lennox wouldn't. But the way the seed points worked out, and you have to wait and see how that works out with final records, Lennox still found a way, even though they had less losses, still were able to qualify for the playoffs where Vermilion didn't. They did play each other earlier in the year. Lennox did get that win. So that's why they have seed points, is quality of schedule, and Lennox found a way to get into the playoffs. In 11B, a couple notes that I have on just watching stuff last night. Dual with an impressive win. They were 7-1 in the regular season, only lost to Roncalli earlier this year, got a good win against St. Thomas More. And Hot Springs taking out Bridgewater Emory East. And this will be the first year in some time BEE hasn't made it to the finals. And Hot Springs, a team that maybe we should look out for.
Yeah, and another first. It's been a while since Hot Springs won a game. I forget the exact number, so I'm not going to say it, but it's been a really long time since Hot Springs won a playoff game, and that's a big one for them. Obviously, they had that matchup with Bridgewater Emory Ethan and McCook Central Montrose. They played McCook Central Montrose 16-7, pretty close, and McCook Central Montrose, as they did with a lot of the people on their schedule, they beat Bridgewater Emory Ethan 44-0. So, that matchup was a big one. When you head into trying to compare these teams that had vastly different schedules, but yeah, it's this Hot Springs one is one to watch.
Yeah, the Seahawks just too many injuries late in the season, and they ran into a really good Hot Springs team where Preston Iverson played excellent football, 5 touchdowns total for him on the night. Another note in 11B, Redfield got a win over Woonsocket Wessington Springs Sanborn Central on the road. The Blackhawks scored a touchdown with 8 seconds left in the game, went for 2 to try to get the win. Did not come up with that. It was a close play in the corner of the end zone, but the Redfield Pheasants hang on for a 7-6 win. So that was the upset of the night in 11B. In 9AA, Elkton Lake Benton, undefeated on the regular season, got down early to Kimball White Lake. Kimball White Lake, a team that has played a really tough schedule, maybe the toughest schedule in all of 9AA. But Elkton Lake Benton found a way, even without their star receiver, Tanner Stein, who was out with an ankle injury, to get that win. And then let's talk about Marion Freeman Academy. First time ever with this co-op has played a playoff game, and they get a last-second pass from Riley Cheddar, a 39-yard touchdown. It wasn't a Hail Mary. It was kind of like a little scat pass that Evan Sharberg came in and found a way to get into the end zone to get the win. So a thrilling way for that team to win. Impressive win for the Phoenix.
Yeah, I mean, this is big win for a big new co-op and a big play by a freshman quarterback at the end in Riley Cheddar. So, that's going to be big for them headed into a matchup with, I believe, the number one team, right?
They do play number 2, Elkton Lake Benton, next week. So
Yep.
yeah, one of the top teams in the class. So that's the highlights from 9AA and 9A. Not many upsets. We had Canastota with the slight upset 9-8 over Alcester Hudson. Alcester Hudson played with them in the first half. Canastota pulled away in the second half. It's
Yeah.
a good 9-8 team.
Yeah. Obviously, we talked about them a couple times ago. Canastota, they're a really, really strong team. They played a really tough schedule. Alcester Hudson, sort of on the opposite end, they played a majority 9B, whereas Canastota was playing a lot of 9AA teams and some good non-AA teams too. Obviously, they only lost to Howard by 2. That's the number one team media poll in 9AA. So, Canastota was tested, and we expect them to come into this matchup strong, and we expect them to go through the playoffs strong. But it's Canastota who plays the number one team next week. They get Warner, so that's gonna be tough. Second week for them in the playoffs, but I mean, Warner can't look at this as a 1-9. This is real. That's not really what it is. I think Canastota, if they played a majority 9A teams, they'd be right up there with Warner. Probably fighting for that number one seed.
Yeah, and Canastota, they're dealing with their own injuries. They've got guys that have not played all season, and Tage Hartman is still doing a great job leading them. Very dangerous matchup in the quarterfinals for Warner, but Warner with Hunter Kramer has been really good this year. The rest of the 9A bracket looked, a lot of shutouts. 6 out of the 8 games were shutouts, so not many upsets to talk about. In 9B, though, I have a lot of interesting things that happened. Brendan Begeman surpassed 6,000 career rushing yards, only the third player in South Dakota high school football history to do that. And it's not out of the realm, for him to get the career rushing record. He'd have to really step it up in these next 3 games, but he's got a shot at that and the single season all-time rushing record.
Yeah, I mean, if they get all the way to the dome, that's 3 more games for them, and he's been averaging around 250 rushing yards a game, and in the last couple of weeks he's sort of been on the higher end of that, before this last week, and so yeah, I mean, if he could get 275, 300 rushing yards a game the next couple of games, obviously that's a lot to ask, but for Brendan Begeman it might not be, so it certainly is possible. And, we haven't been in the situation where, a player has been, sort of within that realm of possibility in a while. So that's exciting. It's going to be fun to see if he could do it.
I mean, it's a great story no matter where his number ends up, but just a shout out to Harriet Selby area, the job they've done this year. And then of course, Brendan Begeman with the individual effort that he's put up. How about Avon putting up 74 points in their win Thursday night? They're a team that can really score. Brady Beermuck is back. He had an ACL injury that he was healing from and hasn't played a full slate until the last few weeks here. He made a big impact with 200 yards rushing. They had 2 different rushers go over 200 yards rushing, but Avon looked really good as they await the Wolverines in the next round. Sully Buttes pulled it out. They had to come back to get a win in the second half against Potter County, and Potter County, a tough team this year. Didn't have a lot back from their team that made it to the Dome last year, but found a way to play some really tough games down the stretch. But Sully Buttes gets the win. And how about Irene Wakanda? 61 points to beat Corsica Stickney. That was the upset of the round. We don't talk a lot about Irene Wakanda. In fact, I don't think we've talked about him this year, but Dashiell Spurrell with a huge night. And then how about Del Rapids St. Mary, the defending champs in 9B, go on the road to Faith across the state and get a 10-point win. That's a team that's been banged up due to injuries all season long, but found a way to get it done. And maybe not the Dome team that we were used to last year, but a really good effort from the Cardinals. Any other notes that I maybe went past either too fast or missed, Michael?
No, I mean, I think I looked at that Faith Del Rapids St. Mary matchup in the same way that we sort of looked at the Hot Springs Bridgewater and Marethan matchup. A couple classes up. It's Del Rapids St. Mary in the same way as Bridgewater and Marethan sort of has that Dome pedigree, but you expected the seven to come into that matchup really, really strong. But to Del Rapid St. Mary's credit, they have some really good playmakers. Nick Gasper at running back. So they're able to pull it out, and maybe they could get some more magic against the number 2 seed in Hitchcock Tulare.
A lot of good stuff, and can't wait to the quarterfinal rounds next Thursday night. Remember, it's a Thursday slate again next week, so we'll have a couple live games, quarterfinal games from Howard Wood Field. Argus has great coverage as always, and we will be back with Football Insiders next Wednesday. So tune in early next Wednesday, and hopefully we will have a studio recording of this grand internet show. It'll be great.
I wouldn't guarantee next Wednesday because you never know what could happen.
Well, with this surprise episode of Football Insiders, anything could happen, but I think we actually did it this time. It's recorded. You guys let us know if you have any comments, ideas, issues that came up throughout this episode, and stay in contact because it's always great to hear from the high school football faithful across the state. For Michael McCleary of the Argus Leader, I'm Jason Andera of Midco Sports. We'll see you next week.